Well, this simple alteration has been trending across the country like crazy, and for good reason, because it works so well when the bite is tough and on heavily pressured bodies of water. Well, I literally wanted to take you underwater so you can see how come this presentation is absolutely on fire. I want to show you a couple different presentations, and one of them that is my absolute favorite, and for good reason, because the very first time I tried this on a bluebird day when the bite was tough, I caught fish right away. Well, adding a blade to a soft plastic lure like the stick bait here is nothing new, but it has really been trending, and like I said, for good reason. It works so well. I tried a couple of different soft plastic stick baits. I had an Elastec one, and this one is regular plastisol. I used just a simple light wire offset worm hook. This is a 3/16 ounce weight, and I actually used a bobber stop to hold this in place. I wanted this one pegged because I like to think about this as a really subtle spinner bait, and then whatever plastic you use, it works well to take a pair of scissors and trim off the narrow end of the worm, so you've got a really good flat surface to screw in the blade here. Now with the Elastec, screwing it in can be a little bit tougher. That Elastec likes to fight you, but you can get it in there and you can get it straight, and it screws in really easily into the plastisol. So let's go underwater and see why this is so good. So this first one is a white Elastec stick bait, the 3/16 ounce weight, and it does drop through the water column pretty quickly, but you can see that nice flash that it gives off to attract those bass, to draw that curiosity. When I tested this earlier with a 1/8 ounce worm weight, it had a very slow and subtle fall to it. So depending on the water clarity or the mood of the fish, don't be afraid to change the size of the weight. And then this one here is the green pumpkin plastisol bait, and you can see it's got a nice drop as well. Now, once you've made that initial cast, you've got a couple different options. One, you can go ahead and swim the lure through the water column. Just dynamite for this, very much like a swimming worm. We know they work through vegetation very well. You can throw them down the length of laydowns. They're just an excellent way to work the mid depths of the water column. And I find it very interesting here when I back off a little bit from the lure, and with the green pumpkin, which easily blends into some murkier water or into all this vegetation, you can just see that blade spinning back there and just giving little pops of light, little flashes of light, and it just makes this lure more visible from a lot greater distance. That's what has that drawing power to it, but yet it's still very subtle. It just glides through the water column and just gives off a little bit of thump and a little bit of flash. Like I said, I like to think about it when I'm swimming it like a very, very subtle spinnerbait. But here's the way I really like to use this lure, and this is how I was catching the fish as well, and that is just dragging it or crawling it across the bottom. It takes almost zero effort to get that blade to spin, whether when it pops through some grass, we give it a little hop, it crawls up and over a stick. It takes no effort whatsoever to get it to move, and adds just that tiny bit of flash. And with these slender willow leaf blades, they match the profile of the stick bait and hide behind it and hide behind the worm weight very well. They don't catch up on the debris, and I'm not afraid to throw this absolutely anywhere. Like I said, I've worked it around sticks and all kinds of stuff, and it just comes through it very nicely. And once again, when I back the camera off a little ways, you can see how that blade just adding just the tiniest flashes, even when we're just crawling it along the bottom, adds so much attracting power to this particular presentation. And here's the part that is just really nice. You can still cover water. This is not a traditional finesse presentation where it sits in one very small area for a long period of time. This is something that you can do very quickly to stand apart from everything else out there on the water. And hey, if you want to watch a video that talks about and will show you what bass actually do after a prolonged cold snap, after 4 or 5 days of unseasonably cold weather, check this one out right here. And make sure that you go out and encourage someone today. You never know how you might just change their life. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.